So this video might actually seem like a shameless plug for us to get our followers and our fans to help us find a car. And that's exactly what it is, actually. We normally wouldn't, I think, even release any information until we've discovered a car, or, you want to keep the information you found. It needs to be close to you, and a lot of this stuff, I keep it confidential, but we have been searching for a lost Miura SV for probably 6 years now. And I've got this optimistic sort of nature about me that some people have called me an eternal optimist. But this car has sort of plagued me in a way because, we've done a great job, I think, if we set out a goal and we put our mind to it, and we work every aspect that we can, after a couple of years, we will find some hidden cars or some missing cars. And we've been very, very successful, and the universe or God or whatever you believe in, I believe, has helped us in one way or the other. And when we first started Curated, my father had always told me about a Miura SV, a black car that lived somewhere in Arizona. And we had gotten some deals under our belt, and I said, you know what? This would be cool to discover this and tell the story and talk about my dad's relationship to the car. So in 1972, my dad, as we've talked about before, and maybe we'll do a story on this, purchased from the New York Auto Show a black Miura SV. And he had always kept in touch with owners, and he'd always kept in touch with the distributor. And I would say probably over about a period of 10 to 15 years, he had tracked what you could call the sister car to his car. It was a similar US spec Miura SV black, which very rare. I believe, for the US, there was maybe 3 or 4 produced in black. For the rest of the world, maybe another 4 or 5 Miura SVs produced in black. And this car had black interior, so it was a black Miura SV, gold wheels, gold bottoms. And it was actually used as the Chicago Auto Show car, where my dad's car was used as the New York Auto Show car. So throughout the years, different owners of this car had contacted my dad, once for technical advice, once for parts. At one point, a gentleman called him, and he wanted to change the carpets, and he had some questions about a roof antenna and what roof antenna my dad had on his car. So fast forward, I started gathering information from my dad about this car. And what he knew was that there was a gentleman that his family had some money, and he had purchased this car out of the Midwest. It was a 1972 Miura SV, black, a later chassis number, and that the car had ended up in Arizona. And this gentleman in Arizona, his name was Walter, and Walter had hot rods, and he had, I think, a red Pantera, and he had a few other interesting hot rods. And my dad said that he even remembered that he might have had a BMW M1. So I start using that information to try to track this Walter person. And what's funny is my dad didn't even have the correct spelling of his last name. So we were playing with all these different spellings and all these different things. And I started with maybe some online search program, and it eventually led to me reaching out to a private investigator. So in this process, what we found out is we've pinpointed that either Walter had passed away or Walter had almost become homeless and then passed away. There was 2 Walters with a similar last name that had both lived in this area in Arizona. And we had a few addresses that we were using as we pinpointed that the car lived on this street. We didn't know exactly the house. We spoke to, it was funny, at one point during this early process, my dad met another guy that was a former Lamborghini dealer, and he remembers the car. He actually talked, and he said, yeah, I think it was like a charcoal color because it was a metallic black. And he had details about that car that no one else could corroborate. And what was interesting is we think we found the house where the car lived. And in this process, we were doing more information, and at one point, the private investigator even said, hey, I think I've identified the company that at one point owned the car. So super exciting. We thought we had made some headway. And in that timeline, we'd also reached out to all the Miura experts, Lamborghini experts, and other registry sites. So remarkably, one of our friends from the International Lamborghini Registry, Mr. Glenn, he had actually had some information about the car, and apparently in 2006, someone reached out to him claiming that they owned the car, and this person had an email address. Now, I don't remember the email address exactly, but it was something like blackmirasv@yahoo.com. So I tried to email that email address a couple times. It came back, it bounced back. This person no longer had the email address. But what was funny was this owner's name, his name was Michael Little, or so he told Glenn his name was Michael Little. Now the problem with the name Michael Little is once you start looking for Mike Littles or Michael Littles, it is one of the most common names I think that I've ever seen online. I mean, I tried to narrow it down, and at one point, I would say 3 or 4 years ago, I don't know, maybe in desperation, I started contacting every Mike Little or Michael Little that maybe looked like they were somewhat well off, that they were somewhat, I don't know, maybe had, some sort of a car, maybe owned a Porsche. And I had gone through about 30 or 40 Mike Littles, and I had not found anyone that owned this car. Now, I did find a car dealer that was named Michael Little, and he was in Arizona, and it looked like he owned like a Chevy dealer or something like that. They never got back to me. So it could be that Mike Little if you're out there. And what's funny is it's not that, we had to buy this car. There was something special about this car that made us want to buy it. It was the fact that we literally couldn't find it. And every road we took hit a dead end. So then I actually reached out. We have some incredible clients. I could, a list of major CEOs and some very serious tech people. So I actually used some of my tech contacts to see, hey, maybe we could reverse engineer this email and see, who registered this email with Yahoo. And unfortunately, that came up with a dead end as well. So over time, we've heard rumors. I've reached out to other experts, and I've probably asked everyone that's involved in the Lamborghini community about this car. It's become a personal mission. I think it's become a company mission to find this car. I've heard rumors that the car might have been painted. I've heard rumors that the car is in pieces. I've heard rumors that the car is in litigation. I found a woman by the name of Sally, and apparently this Sally, it matches up that she lived in Arizona at the time when the car was in Arizona. She was married to this gentleman, Walter. Now, she ended up in North Carolina, which sort of made sense because this other Walter gentleman that passed away also lived in North Carolina. So I really tried and exhausted all options. I wrote a few letters. Anyways, we are committed, and we are sort of, I believe in a weird way, we're destined to find this car and hopefully restore it back to the way it was at the Chicago Auto Show, or see it to its next home, or who knows what will end up happening. But if you know something about a black Miura SV that at one point was in Southern California, at one point was in Arizona, that might have been owned by a guy that had some hot rods, reach out to us.